Okay, are we ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Chief Rocco. Glad you could join us. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to call to order the Building Code Structures Board meeting for May 1st, 2024. The time now is 9:38. And if I could ask, first thing up is a roll call. So Katie, if I could ask you please to call the roll.
Yes, sir. Marshall McGrady.
I am here.
Thank you. He's virtual. Gary Heikkinen.
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Also virtual. Brenda Hartzog.
Here.
Thank you, Brenda. Also virtual. Chase Browning.
I'm here. Good morning.
Thank you, Chase. Also virtual. Andrew Dykeman.
Present.
Present in the room. Jean Root.
Present.
Thank you. Jean is present in the room. And Eric Schmidt, Chair.
Present.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, we do have quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Next order is approval of the agenda and order of business. So I'll ask the board members if they have any changes to the agenda or order of the business. Okay, hearing none, I, Chair Schmidt, rule the agenda and order of business approved. Next up is the approval of the draft minutes of February 7th, 2024. I'll ask board members if you have any changes to the draft minutes at this time. Okay. Hearing none, last call. Okay, hearing none, I, Chair Schmidt, rule the draft minutes of February 7th, 2024 final. Next order of business is just information that our next meeting date is scheduled for August 7th, 2024. And also just a note that we have a new board member with us today, so we want to welcome Jean Root. So welcome to the Building Code Structures Board, Jean. Want to give you a moment to maybe just say hi and introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt. It's all new for me. Thank you for your patience. Jean Root. I'm a principal and part owner of a firm, Michael Willis Architects, MWA Architects, that is located in Portland, Oregon. We also have an office in San Francisco, California. We have been around since 1988, and I have been a hardworking member of that team since 2002. I am also the Director of Sustainability at the firm, and so I do come with support and interest in not just the energy side of sustainability or water use side of sustainability, but also from the people side. So I am a strong also advocate and a co-chair of committee at the National Organization of Minority Architects. So that is a little bit of the lens that I come with, and thank you for the welcome.
Thank you, Jean. Welcome aboard for the Building Code Structures Board. All right. The next order of business is public comment. So at this point in time, I will ask Pierre Sabah, Policy Advisor, to help address any public comment that we have for the meeting this morning.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt, members of the board. For the record, my name is Pierre Sabah, Policy Analyst of the Division. As of this morning, we do have one request for public comment to the board from Mr. Jonathan Knudtsen. I believe he's joining us virtually today, but I don't see him yet. But that's okay because his request for public comment was on new agenda items B and C. So if it's okay with you, Chair Schmidt, members of the board, he would like to comment at the time we discuss those two business items if he shows up.
Okay. Thank you. Yep, I can see a thumbs up from the board. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, Pierre.
And we'll hold the line open for another minute if there's anyone who didn't sign up that would like to provide public comment.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, next order of business is an executive session that the board will move into. And Kathy, make sure I'm doing this right. So I have a script I'm going to read. reads this prior to break. Okay, so I'm going to read this. We're going to break into executive session. So we will leave this meeting and come back to this meeting. So let me go ahead and go through this script. The building codes structure approval, building code structures board will now meet in executive session at 9:43 a.m. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192-6602F for this session, which allows the board to meet in executive session to consider information or records that are exempt from disclosure by law, including written advice from board counsel. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to please disconnect from the audio conference board meeting through Zoom and will be asked to leave conference room A. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, the board will return to open session and welcome members, staff, and the public to join the meeting through the Zoom platform for the rest of the board agenda. Okay, so with that, Katie, any other direction or time for us to move to exec?
Nope, you are good. Yes, everybody please log off, and all board members please join the executive session. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We'll just give it a few moments to make sure we have everybody back with us. Katie, can you please let me know when you believe we're ready to go?
Yes, sir, it looks like we are all back.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Yes, sir, it looks like we are all back.
Okay, thank you. Okay, want to welcome everybody back to the open session. The time now is 10:01. And so I am going to read just a quick script. So again, the time now is 10:01. The board has concluded the executive session and will now re-enter public meeting. No decisions were made and no votes were taken outside of the public meeting. And so Katie, if I could please ask you to call roll once more, and then we'll continue with the agenda.
Yes, sir. Chase Browning,
I'm here. Thank you.
Brenda Hartzog.
Here.
Thank you. Gary Heikkinen.
Here.
Thank you. Marshall McGrady.
Here.
Thank you, Marshall. Jean Root.
Present.
Thank you, Jean. Vice Chair Andrew Dykeman.
Present.
Thank you. And Chair Eric Schmidt.
Present. Thank you very much.
Perfect. And we have quorum, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. I think what I'd like to do is go back to our public comment and just check in once again with Pierre Sabah, Policy Advisor, to see if we're at a place where we're ready to have public comment.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. Chair Schmidt, Jonathan Knudtsen has joined the meeting, but he would like to speak on the specific items B and C. So if it's okay with you and the board, we will call on him after I present those items individually.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, thank you. All right, so next order of business is the structural program update. Tony Rocco, Structural Program Chief, Policy and Technical Services, is joining us. And Chief Rocco, I'm going to turn it over to you for a program update.
Sounds good. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Tony Rocco with the division. Just a quick program update for the board today. First, on the residential side of our team's workload, we have a couple of announcements that we're really excited about. Our team has a number of Q&A sessions coming up in the month of May. And we have 2 on the structural fire life safety side, as well as 2 covering energy and mechanical provisions. We're hoping that a notification is going to be sent out soon on those, and we're working with the outreach team here at the division to get those notifications sent out. So look for those sometime in the near future. Also, we have an Oregon design criteria hub that is up and running, and we're really excited about it. The hub was designed as a future online access tool for the statewide wildfire hazard map. And one of the things that was required by Senate Bill 762 was to develop this tool and to also have future capabilities to include other climatic design criteria like seismic, wind, and snow. And we've partnered with Oregon State University on development of the tool, and it's currently available for use to quickly identify all design criteria for a given site statewide. Jeremy Williams from our team did a great job working with the OSU team, and we're really pleased with the results. Currently, you can use the site address or lat long to locate your climatic and geographic design criteria for a given site. And the tool is currently limited to OSSC governed designs, but we're working with OSU currently to expand its use to include OSSC governed buildings. So it's going to be basically for all sites in Oregon eventually, regardless of if you're using the OSSC for design or the ORSC. To find out more, visit our division webpage, and you can also visit the Residential Structures Code program page, and there's a blurb about it and a link to it, and folks can choose to use it now. And then lastly, our team has been evaluating changes from the 2024 iterations of the model codes. As you know, this includes the IBC, the IEBC, the new construction provisions of the IFC, ASCE 722, since we're currently in 716, so that's going to be a big change, as well as the related standards. And we're really looking forward to the upcoming adoption process and promulgation of the 25 iteration of the OSSC. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's my program update, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief Rocco. Appreciate that update. Let me go ahead and ask board members if there's any questions for Mr. Rocco. Hearing none. Again, thank you very much for that update.
Thank you.
Next update is the energy program update. We have Mark Heizer, Mechanical and Energy Systems Engineer. And so if I could ask, please, Mr. Heizer to discuss the energy program update.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt and members of the board. Mark Heizer with the division, here to give you an update on the energy program. One of the first things I'd like to do is mention that we do have a new staff member. Ann Geyer has joined primarily as a result of House Bill 3409, comes from the sustainability and also environmental compliance world to be part of the look at embodied carbon within the code as required for investigation. We really welcome her on board. Not here today, but hopefully at the next meeting can maybe put a face to it through the Zoom meeting. The next update is about, of course, the commercial code, which we've gone through and approved the 2024 Oregon Energy Efficiency Specialty Code that has gone through the adoption process. We're currently getting ready to look at releasing the rulemaking for the actual enforcement date of beginning potentially July 1st. We're still going through some of the forms and compliance software that are out there. We're still trying to work through some bugs in ComCheck to make sure that we have software for the new code. July 1 would be the earliest date with the 6-month grace period. As we go through and see what forms and other pieces need to be done, we'll see where the rulemaking comes out on that for making the final rule announcement. Also at this time, once that happens, there would be a look, once there's a baseline energy code, there would be a look at the process, beginning the process at the Commercial Industry Energy Board, C-Board, for looking at a commercial REACH code, starting that process. On training updates, would like to note that if you go through the energy program page at Building Codes Division to the commercial program page, we're doing a lot to provide new materials and links on that page. There are new links for the latest, I believe they're up now, for training for from U.S. Department of Energy on how to use ComCheck and the new version that's been used for ComCheck Web. Trying to find other pieces that can be made available. We may be doing, just like in the residential program, some additional training and informational technical bulletins as we continue to get feedback on where the public and building officials are looking for additional materials. Finally, since I'm also here on the mechanical code, letting you know that yes, there's a lot of interaction between the building code and the mechanical code. The mechanical board is beginning their process of looking at adoption of the next Oregon Mechanical Specialty Code using the International Mechanical Code as their baseline. Definitely will be a lot of interaction between these two boards, sort of following what work is there. A lot of life safety issues, ventilation, and so forth that, we'll make sure that there's continued coordination between staff on that one and keep this board updated as well. And with that, that's it for the update, and if I'm available for any questions. Thank you, Chair Schmidt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heizer. Board members, questions for Mr. Heizer on the energy program update or mechanical update? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt.
Okay, next order of business under general communications, we have Todd Smith, Policy and Technical Services Manager, to provide an update on HAPO.
Chair Schmidt, for the record,
Yeah.
Pierre Sabab, Policy Analyst. We actually have Alana Cox, our Director, here to give an update on HAPO.
Well, welcome, Alana. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Schmidt, members of the board. I'm Alana Cox, Administrator of the Building Codes Division. Happy to talk to you today about the Housing Accountability and Production Office, our newest acronym in state government. We're really excited about it here. So in the last short session, the governor passed her priority housing bill, and one of the things that bill did was create the Housing Accountability and Production Office, which will be a joint venture between the Building Codes Division and the Department of Land Conservation and Development. And some of the functions of the office will be things that we already do at the Building Codes Division, but really focused on housing in terms of mediating disputes between local government and contractors, trying to get construction moving, giving clear guidance and answers and that kind of thing. The Department of Land Conservation and Development is going to be getting some new oversight powers over local government for violations of housing laws, and we'll be working with them to process complaints. We already have that authority at the Building Codes Division, but we're going to be coordinating closely with them and also just trying to provide more kind of holistic, no wrong door customer service when it comes to housing issues, as folks are facing issues in development. Being able to come to anyone at our office or DLCD, and we can run those issues down. So there'll be some enterprise coordination if it's an issue with one of our agencies that we can help with, or maybe it's an issue with DEQ or OHA or some other agency that impacts housing. We're going to try to provide some really excellent customer service there and really good coordination kind of at the enterprise level at the state. And that bill also is going to create a process improvement study that we're pretty excited about. That's, I think, the first in recent memory soup to nuts process improvement from, you know, pre-development all the way through to the end, and all of the different departments that might be involved, public works, building, planning, trying to find some best practices and opportunities for some efficiency so that we can get things turned around faster and while maintaining that safe, efficient, affordable housing. And, you know, obviously this board's main impact on this area is multifamily housing, and I think we're always thinking about the impact of the code on those things, but certainly this time that with this code adoption, it's really important that we're using that lens. One thing we've done to support the new office is to reorganize ourselves at the Building Codes Division. So we've created the Housing and Building Safety section at Building Codes, and Tony Rocco, our chief, is also the manager of that new section, and he'll be leading our work on HAPO, the Housing Accountability and Production. We've got HABs now to work with HAPO, you know. So we're excited about that. I think you know, we're going to remain laser focused on making sure that we're getting good customer service to folks, and we're not creating any additional barriers, but are actually removing barriers. And so our intent is that all of the access, all of the appeals, all of the tools we have in our toolbox today remain available. And now we've got the support of that other agency and the governor in that more enterprise, let's run down issues and build housing and address our affordable housing crisis in Oregon. So we're really excited about it. And we're going to be working closely with this board and all of the boards. So we're going to be convening the chairs and vice chairs of all of the boards, because it really takes, I keep saying enterprise, but the state, the whole enterprise, local government, you know, all those departments that impact housing, and then all of our specialty codes need to work together and make sense to support this housing production push that we're really working on. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have or take any comments about how we can be most successful in this new endeavor we're working on to support housing production. We've got one in the room, Chair Schmidt from Board Member Root.
Thank you so much for that. Quick question is,
Oh, yeah,
quick
go ahead.
question. The question is, I hear a lot of the time in the design side of the industry as well as construction about these barriers that you speak of. And the big question that's coming up and emerging, of course, in our industry is that we have so many of these codes that are written. Many of them are searchable documents. Is there any possibility that one of the activities that your office might attend to is using or implementing AI in collective search and assembly for folks when they're trying to figure out, you know, what are all the pieces and parts that do apply to my project? Because that's often the issue, is people think they got it all, and then there are the concerns where folks find things that are in conflict, because all of our codes are living documents, really.
Thank you for the question. That really is kind of an emerging issue we're just starting to hear about in terms of how AI can be incorporated into plan review, into code coordination between the codes. And I know it's something the International Code Council has been looking at, and so we're kind of looking at their leadership on that issue to make sure we do it in a way that maintains the integrity of the codes and the processes in place. But it is an interesting area for exploration, and maybe I'll add, at your last meeting, Natalie Janney was here, I'm sorry you weren't there, but to report on the Housing Production Advisory Council recommendations. That's one of the things this new office is going to be working on also, is implementing those recommendations and working through those recommendations. And there was a whole work group in that on workforce issues, which I think is kind of AI related in terms of, are we going to have the workforce available to do all of this good work and build the housing and check the plans and all of the rest of it, inspect it. And so that's something we're actively working on also. We've got a few initiatives between our training program. We're working on a statewide mutual aid agreement framework so that different building departments that have different levels of demand can share resources more efficiently. So we're working on a lot of that stuff. I won't say that AI has been dived into really specifically yet, but I think it's something we're watching closely for sure.
Thank you, Alana. Again, good to see you. Thank you for the information. That is exciting to kind of see where this will go as we go forward in terms of this work and just helping advance housing throughout the state. Really like the idea about the collaboration between building and planning and things like that, engineering, because there's just a lot of work in that space that I could see. So let me just open it up to other board members if there's questions for Ms. Cox. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I unagended, but I didn't have my notes to cover the rest of the legislative updates, so I'm going to turn it over to Richard Donovan, if that's okay with you.
Yes. You see that on the agenda, but that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt, members of the board. I am Richard Donovan. I'm a senior policy advisor and legislative coordinator for the division. So I'm your lobbyist over at the Capitol. And Alana took the fun bill. HAPO is the fun bill. But there were a couple other bills, and we thought this would be a good time just to run through these couple other bills that are relevant to the work of the board. There's two that I want to touch on beyond the HAPO bill, and they're basically technical in nature. The first one is House Bill 4016, which regards our wildfire grant program for grants. This program began in 2020 as a result of those fires, and that kind of followed those fires. The grant program first was passed in 2021, and this bill extends that program and kind of makes some changes to it around the margins, but basically extends it up through 2025. It was scheduled to sunset, and this bill will allow it to continue, and otherwise just continue the grant operations we've been doing. And the other bill that's worth bringing to your attention is Senate Bill 1521. This is a broad human services omnibus bill. The session that concluded was a short session. In Oregon, we have long, short, and so even numbered years, there's 35 days of fun in the Capitol. And when you have those short compressed timelines, what often happens is you'll see a policy area get one big bill that has all the technical stuff kind of crammed into it that's somewhat non-controversial, just as a procedural tool. This is one of those bills. There's a lot of stuff in that bill. The one thing that's relevant to us is there's an extension of a deadline. A sunset was set to occur in 2024 this year. That will be bumped out to 2026 in regards sprinklers for certain homes for adults that need supported living. The sprinkler requirements for those structures is an ongoing policy decision and choice, and we haven't really been able to get there in terms of what we think about balancing the needs of those facilities and fire safety. And so this bill extends that deadline for 2 years so we can keep having those conversations. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Since this is kind of a pop quiz, if you think of other questions, feel free to get in touch with me or whomever else later, and I'll be happy to answer them then. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Questions from the board? Okay, thank you very much. All right, at this time, we are going to move to the new business agenda. First up is Code Review Committee for the 2025 OSSC. Let me ask Pierre Sabah to weigh in again to introduce and discuss this item.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt, members of the board. For the record, my name is Pierre Sabah, Policy Analyst with the Division. This agenda item is to review the selection of a Code Review Committee for the 2025 Oregon Structural Specialty Code. The Division typically recommends a committee of 7 to 9 members. This cycle, through the committee member solicitation period, 21 applications were received from interested parties with a variety of backgrounds and experience. I believe Chair Schmidt and the Vice Chair have been working on a list. So I will turn it over to the both of you for this recommended list. And we also have Tony still here if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. Appreciate that introduction. For the board, as Pierre had mentioned, and I want to express my appreciation probably on behalf of the board, but I don't want to speak for everybody, but definitely appreciate everybody submitting their interest to be able to participate on this code development committee. So as mentioned, we had 21 applications come in from various sectors of the industry, and Vice Chair and myself met to review the applications to come up with a proposed list for the committee to review today. And so what I will do is, of the 21, let me go ahead and list the proposed list for the 2025 OSSC Review Committee members. And they are as follows. And Vice Chair Dykeman, please weigh in as needed on this as well. So the proposal is Janice Sanada, an architect with LRS Architects, Tom Jaleski, also an architect with Jensen Hughes, Kyle Smith, with geotechnical engineer with Geoengineers, Ryan Gay, structural engineer with KPFF and representing Structural Engineers Association of Oregon, Adele Sheffield, building official with Malheur County, Jody Orison, building codes analyst with City of Portland, Matthew Amos, strategic planning deputy state fire marshal, Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, Steve Forrester, fire marshal with TVF&R, and Rebai Tamberlay is also a building codes director and an instructor of building codes. So those are the 9 individuals that we are putting forth for the board to discuss. And I think the list, we looked at everything to really help balance committee representation, and I will now open it up to the board to consider and have any discussions or thoughts, or just want to make sure, do we need a motion on this, asking staff?
Yes, Chair Schmidt, there will be a roll call vote required.
Okay, thank you. Do we have that suggested motion? Should it come up in language? Or if not, we can.
I think we can just motion to approve the recommended list.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So let me go ahead and open it up to the board. Committee member Heikkinen, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of discussion there. It was, as I looked at the list, there were obviously different, not easy to sift through there, since I really didn't know anybody except 2 people, or were aware of 2 people, Steve Forrester being one of them. I did have, I had highlighted what I thought looked like some pretty good selections that included, several of the names that you have there. I guess one of the questions is we've got, and with all due respect to Steve, we've got 2 representatives there representing the fire protection industry. Industry is not the right word. And I guess my general question is, do we need more than 2 there, or would 1 suffice in order to maybe open up, for example, Laura Geddes with Intel, is representative of a company. I didn't really see any other, say, owners type of representatives on the list. I just throw that out there. Unfortunately, I don't see any general contractors either, which would have been nice to see a general contractor, although I did see somebody here with Dynalectric, at least they're in the construction industry. So, also I had some thoughts about, I'm glad that we have a representative there, a suggested representative from the east side of the state. Obviously, the city of Portland is huge. But I also had on here a consideration for the gentleman from the city of Springfield to have somebody from a little bit farther south. So I didn't know if anybody has any thoughts on that, Eric or Andy. I know you went through the list and have some specific reasons for picking who you picked, but so those are just my thoughts to open up discussion.
Thank you, Gary. I'll go ahead and offer up a comment, and Vice Chair and Tony, feel free to weigh in as well. I think to your point, definitely we looked at some of that geographic diversity as it relates to the east side of the state. And then also, I think the thought with, we were like trying not to have too many jurisdictional members, right? Trying to balance that out. So the city of Portland was like, okay, that seems like a good thing in terms of the city of Portland. Springfield, I think also instead of Springfield, I think ultimately V.I.I. was recommended because of the breadth and depth that he has, both jurisdictional as well as engineering and just that code development experience. So that was ultimately where like, well, he's kind of also somewhat of a jurisdictional rep, but also he has experience in other venues. So that was ultimately what was recommended. But Vice Chair or Tony, any additional thoughts that you have on this?
Chair Schmidt, for the record, Pierce-Bow, Policy Analyst of the Division. I also wanted to clarify that if the board feels like they want to add more members, the 7 and 9 is not like a hard number. Like the board can discuss and add more members to the committee. So I just wanted to put that out there in case there.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you, Pierre. I was going to mention that as well. So yeah, right now we're at 9. Yeah, but thank you. Marshall, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just I noticed in our notes I didn't see the list of the 9. I've got the 21 folks, but I didn't see the actual 9. So was Nathan Morris included in that list of the 9?
Not currently. Not currently is one of the recommended.
So we don't have anyone from an actual general contracting or building trades representative in that 9?
I'm looking at the list. I would say right now we do not.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in terms of, like you'd said, and to yours and Gary's point, your, I guess, direct industry contractors, and yes, it would have been great to have some like HEC or some kind of other general contractors as well. So you've got probably Mr. Morris with Dynalectric in terms of like actual install kind of in the field. I think that would be probably our closest one, I believe. I need to look at the others.
I would just say in regards to Nathan, he is also fire life safety, which does tie in well with all of the structural type stuff. So just to consider that. And I do believe it is important to have somebody from the building trades be a part of this, as well as the architects and engineers.
Sounds good. I'm sorry, Chase, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and I'll just mention to the group that I dropped the ball. I'm obviously very interested in being on the code review committee, but I made the disastrous assumption that I would that I didn't need to submit a letter of interest, and I did not make the deadline. So, but I do appreciate the work that's gone into this, and I do support this group. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, for the record, Tony Rocco with the division. Chase, you absolutely have the ability to attend these committee meetings. There's going to be, a lot of topics where we're going to need input on, fire life safety side, on the fire side, on Eric McMullen's work, integrating the new construction provisions of the IFC into Chapter 4. It's a huge lift. So you can absolutely, you could be considered here if the board wants to go a different way with the list or add folks to the list. And you can also you're absolutely welcome to attend, Chase, and comment as you see appropriate. So that's another thing to consider, is that these, we have the committee list. They have a thumbs up, thumbs down on things. We're going to be facilitating the promulgation process, since we're the division that adopts the codes. And then, other people are welcome to attend and to provide input, where appropriate. And we're hoping for that. And we've always had that, historically. And then as far as the number of folks, when you start getting above 9, it is a bit of a challenge just from the perspective of a work group. But you do have some folks on there that are going to be very interested in certain portions of the code, right? So you have a geotech engineer probably pretty interested in Chapter 18, and you've got someone from SEAO probably interested in 16 through 23, and so there's going to be some opportunity for additional input and feedback as well, I believe. So hopefully that's helpful as you consider things, make your decision.
Thank you, Chief Rocco. Other comments or questions from the board or suggestions? I think right now I'm hearing there's a question about potentially City of Springfield, as well as Mr. Morris with Dyna Electric. So I just wanted to kind of float that out there and see, if we want to try and stay to a 9 number as recommended. And if so, from the names recommended, do we want to drop one and add one, or what's the desire of the board? Marshall, please.
I would like to see Nathan Morris added, but I'm also fine if we add in addition to the 9 that you folks put together. My guess is if you have 9 to 10 people or even 11, you're probably going to have 2 or 3 that can't make a meeting at any given time, and I think you'd be able to work through a work group. But I would like to see Nathan added to the list.
Thank you. Chase, go ahead.
Thank you. And after Chief Rocco's comments, if the board is interested in adding me to this, I would be open to that, but I don't want to, I don't want to load up to have too much fire on the committee if there's not an appetite for that. But I would appreciate being considered, but I'm also open to being penalized for not making the deadline too. But anyway, that's just put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase.
Yeah, for
so
the
one, go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
Thanks, Eric. The Vice Chair Dykeman also went through this list with Chair Schmidt. I think the point coming from the contracting side, as a general contractor, I think the point about contractor representation and trade representation is really important. Nathan, there's 2 candidates on this list that I think might fit that bill with representation both on the build side and maybe on the owner side, and that's Lauren Geddes from Intel and Nathan Morris from Dyna. And so I would, if we are looking at representation and broadening that group to make sure we've got some component of industry that's engaged in the process, might maybe consider both of those and either dropping one or bringing that level up to an 11, which I'm also sensitive to Tony's point. I think an advisory committee of 11 will be a lot of commentary to try and keep track and wrangle to a good recommendation. Having served on that advisory committee before, there'll be a lot of opinions in the room, and trying to get to consensus with even with 9 could be a little challenging.
Yeah, I think I guess my sense is if we could try and aim for a 9 number, that would be good. I think that one option, with, is to see about consensus of Mr. Forrester. Maybe he would want to be able to participate more in a participatory versus actually a member of the committee. That might be one option to be able to free up a spot. Should he be open to that option as well? No, but again, respecting he put in an application, but that's one thing I've heard, and I want to make sure we do have adequate fire participation in this. Yeah, thoughts from the board.
Chair Schmidt, I also might put forward that the individual, Kyle Smith from Geotech Engineers or Geoengineers, may have a really focused set of expertise and may be able to be brought in either issue specific or role specific relative to the advisory committee.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. As I think if I could, if it's appropriate, I've got Steve, who was an applicant, to raise his hands. I think that's BCD staff. Let me know if I'm okay to call upon him for comment.
Chair Schmidt, for the record, Pierre Sabal. Yeah, you're totally fine.
Okay, sounds good. So Steve, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As far as on the conversation, I am more than happy to just step back and participate in an informal capacity. As most of you know, I've served on the board with you. I am a significant advocate for having broad representation from both public and private sectors across as many disciplines as we can. That makes the code much better. And so I do think it's really important. I fully support the board in trying to have as much diversity across disciplines and public versus private as possible. So I'm more than happy to step back and continue to support the board. I can work on, again, in an informal capacity, can still, like say, the meetings are still open. And so more than happy to do that and make room for others. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate your combination of that. Appreciate that openness. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like we might be ready for a motion. Do you think?
Yeah, I think we're very close. It seems like if with Steve's but also Vice Chair's comments around Mr. Smith, if instead of those two positions, it sounds like there could be a consensus around adding Nathan Morris and Lauren Geddes, which would still maintain the committee at 9. So I'll just open that up and see if I'm not sure, board member Heiken, if that's kind of where you're thinking, but I think
that's exactly where I was thinking.
So you're open for a motion if we're at that place.
Yeah, it looks like. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I guess my motion would be
and if you'd like, I could read the update.
Sure.
Yeah, Chair Schmidt, if I may, through the board, Pierre Sabah. Yeah, we should clarify the new list of all 9 members. If we could say them one more time, and then we can propose the motion to approve that list. Thank you,
Chair Schmidt. I've got them in order and ready to go.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Vice Chair Dykeman making a motion to adopt the Code Review Committee for the 2025 Oregon Structural Specialty Code from the member solicitations that we received. Janice Sonata, architect and managing principal at LRS Architects. Tom Jaleski, architect from Jensen Hughes. Kyle Smith, Ryan Gay, structural engineer from KPFF. Adele Sheffield, building official for Malheur County. Jody Orison, building codes analyst, City of Portland. Matthew Amos, strategic planning for Oregon State Fire Marshal. Rabai Tamerholet, building codes director and instructor. Nathan Morris, estimator with Dynalectric, and Lauren Geddes from Intel Corporation.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So we have a motion, and at this point, I think we just need a roll call on that motion.
You need a second.
Do we require a second? Sure. Is there a second?
So moved. Chase.
So moved. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, Katie, could you please do roll call, or Pierre?
Yes, sir. Chase Browning,
Yes.
Brenda Hartzog,
Yes.
Gary Heikkinen,
Aye.
Marshall McGrady,
Aye.
Jean Root,
Aye.
Vice Chair Andrew Dykeman,
Aye.
and Chair Eric Schmidt.
Aye.
The motion is unanimously.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And again, thank you, everybody, for the interest on serving. And for those that will move forward, very much appreciate in advance your time and energy in helping us develop the next code. So thank you again very much. Go ahead, Gary, do you have a question?
Not a question, just, and I'm sure we're going to do this anyway, but as we communicate back to those who were not picked, but had submitted, to really encourage them to participate in this process so that we get, further diversity and input on this, even though they won't be on the review committee itself, to really encourage them to participate and thank them for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Tony, thank you in advance for that.
This is Vice Chair Dykeman. I'd also like to second that. Great list of people. It was a hard decision to go through, and I also want to just an extended thanks to Steve for his flexibility as we were navigating through this today. We appreciate your professionalism and your contributions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay. Thank you, Gary. All right, so we're going to move to the next item on the agenda. It is the SAM 24-03 multi-period response spectrum. And we will be looking ultimately for a motion on this item. And we have Pierre Sabah and Tony Rocco here to introduce the item and discuss it. So let me go ahead and turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt, members of the board. For the record, my name is Pierre Sabah, Policy Analyst with the Division. This agenda item is to approve the technical and scientific facts of the proposed statewide alternate method of SAM 2403, which is regarding the multi-period response spectrum. You can find the further information about the proposed technical changes in the memo and in the board packet today. And our structural chief, Tony Rocco, is here to field any technical questions you may have. This item, as you stated, will require a motion to approve the technical and scientific facts. And before we get to discussion, I know we do have Jonathan Knudtsen here virtually to speak on this first SAM 2403, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
That would be great.
Hello, Chairman, members of the board. I'm Jonathan Knudtsen with representing a structural SEAO. I'm the chair of the seismic committee. We developed these two statewide, this state alternative method and the following one. Just a brief overview, it adopts, I'll describe what this one does. The next one will also do the same thing. This adopts a section of ASC 722 early. ASC 722 has incorporated new research that results in some lower seismic forces in certain conditions, resulting in more efficient designs and cost savings. This would be an alternate. It would not change the OSSC. This would be an interim measure for the next 15 months or so until the 2025 OSSC is adopted. So the multi-period response spectrum, just a brief overview of what that is. Seismic forces depend on the building period. Longer period results in lower forces. And so the code makes this response spectrum, which provides accelerations for a building based on that building's period. The response spectrum is specific to geographic coordinates, and it's based on historical earthquake data. Historically, the response spectrum was based on 2 points, and there would just be a curve in between those 2 points. ASC 722 is introducing a new curve that gives points at 22 individual points. It's more accurate. It's based on new data. And it removes a little bit of unnecessary conservatism for buildings with medium to long periods. So this where the seismic forces will be a little bit lower for those. And so this SAM would adopt sections of ASC 722 that are related to this to the multi-period response spectrum. So I think that was all I had to say on that.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that. All right, so Pierre, Tony, I guess anything else from staff that you'd like to touch base with the board before we deliberate this?
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Again, Tony Rocco with the division for the record. So as Jonathan noted, these are basically just bridging the gap. So ASCE 22 obviously has been adopted and in place nationally for quite some time. But because of our code adoption cycle, it didn't make it into the 22 OSSC iteration. And so this is just kind of bridging the gap. It's where we're going anyways, but just providing a pathway for these allowances ahead of time until we get to that finish line where we'll actually incorporate ASCE 722 into the body of the 25 OSSC. So I hopefully that's helpful.
That's great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Rocco. And again, thank you, Mr. Knudtsen, for your testimony and work on this with SEAO. Let me go ahead and turn it over to the board for discussions on this. Any questions for staff or you or Mr. Knudtsen? Jean, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Knudtsen, for your testimony. My quick question is how does anyone know how this gets advertised as its interim so that we can actually realize, our contractors and our engineering partners in our state can realize that savings so that we can actually get our housing that we've been talking about earlier? Is there a method? I just didn't see that in here, how the news gets out, how the good news is spread.
Tony, go ahead, please.
Thank you again, Tony Rocco with the division for the record. So we send out notifications of statewide alternate methods, and the board's role in this is to approve the technical and scientific facts, not the method itself, but just the technical and scientific facts of the method. And then once it's posted and available, we'll send out broad notification to all folks that are signed up to receive updates from our division. And if you're not signed up, it's very easy to do. You just go to bcd.oregon.gov and click in the upper ribbon on email updates. And then you follow the on-screen prompts and you can sign up for notification in a number of ways, including email. So that's how we do. That's how we get the new statewide alternate methods, out. And then also we remind folks of their availability if we have inquiries, fielded from our technical team. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Rocco. Additional questions from the board? And if not, would entertain a motion. You have options for motions within your board agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the technical and scientific facts of the proposed statewide alternate method.
I'll second.
Thank you, Marshall. We have a motion by Marshall, seconded by board member Heikkinen to approve the technical and scientific facts of the proposed statewide alternate method. Let me go ahead and ask if there is further discussion on this. And if not, if I could ask for a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Chase Browning,
Aye.
Brenda Hartzog,
Aye.
Gary Heikkinen,
Aye.
Marshall McGrady,
Aye.
Jean Root,
Aye.
Vice Chair Andrew Dykeman,
Aye.
and Chair Eric Schmidt.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. All right, we'll now move to the next agenda item, which is a SAM 24-04 related to reinforced concrete ductile coupled walls. Again, we'll call upon Pierre Sabah and Tony Rocco to lead this item, and I know we have additional public comment. So Pierre, let me go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt, members of the board. For the record, my name is Pierre Sabah, Policy Analyst of the Division. This agenda item is to approve the technical and scientific facts of the proposed statewide alternate method of SAM 2404 regarding concrete ductile coupled walls. You can find further information about the proposed technical changes in the memo, and the full SAM is included in your board packet today. Our structural chief, Tony Rocco, is once again here to answer any technical questions you may have, and Jonathan Knudtsen is here to comment on this one as well. Thank you, Chair Schmidt.
Thank you. At this point, we'll, Jonathan, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Mr. Knudtsen, for your public comment on this item.
All right, Chairman, members of the board. This is similar to the last one. It adopts a section of ASC 722 early. So this concerns ductile coupled walls. Ductile coupled walls are reinforced concrete shear walls that form the lateral force resisting system of a building. They're different from standard ordinary walls in that it's really like two walls that are connected by beams at each level. And the beams give it extra ability to dissipate energy. So the code provides a factor that accounts for a building's ability to dissipate energy during an earthquake. The detailing, in a concrete building, that energy dissipation is accomplished through yielding of the rebar and the reinforcing. So the detailing is very important. ACI 31819, concrete code adopted in the 2022 OSSC, provides this detailing for ductile coupled walls, which are a new form of wall that's sort of broken out from more standard shear walls. However, the current code references ASC 716, which did not have ductile coupled shear walls in it. So this factor in ASC 7 is 6. In ASC 722, it will increase to 8, essentially providing a 25% reduction in design forces. So once again, this will reduce costs associated with buildings that use ductile coupled shear walls. And I think that's all I had to say on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Knudtsen. Thank you. And Chief Rocco, let me just check in with you. Is there anything else additional you'd like to add on this? Sounds like this is very similar to the last item as well.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman. And that would be my only comment, is that this is just codifying a path for folks under a statewide alternate method until we get to that 25 iteration of the OSSC.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Board members, any questions for Chief or Mr. Knudtsen? And if not, again, would enter this item also requires a motion.
This is Vice Chair Dykeman. Motion to approve the technical and scientific facts of the proposed statewide alternate method for SAM 24-04.
Second, Chase.
Thank you. We have a motion by Vice Chair and second by Board Member Browning to approve the technical and scientific facts of the proposed statewide alternate method. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Hearing none, let me go ahead and ask for a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Chase Browning,
Aye.
Brenda Hartzog,
Aye.
Gary Heikkinen,
Aye.
Marshall McGrady,
Aye.
Jean Root,
Aye.
Vice Chair Andrew Dykeman,
Aye.
and Chair Eric Schmidt.
Aye.
Motion is unanimous.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. At this point, I do not see any additional business on the agenda. Let me just check in and see if there's anything from the board members that you wish to bring up at this point in time. Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and adjourn. So there be no further business. The May 1st, 2024 Building Code Structures Board meeting is now adjourned. The time is 10:57 a.m. So thank you, everybody. Good to see you, and we'll see you in a couple months or so, if not before. Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.